All right, welcome back to the Barebow Project. This is an audio only update because I don't think everybody wants to stare at my face the entire time. So, this is a solo episode giving you an update of what's going on. Next weekend for Team Barebow Project, we have an exclusive coach series with Jay Bars. Um, if you don't know who Jay Bars is, he's a two-time Olympic medalist, one of the most notorious competitors in Olympic recurve. He is now coaching. He's a friend of mine. I've learned a ton from him. I've done podcasts with him, but he's really diving into the mental game and the mental side of his preparation for the Olympics and how archers can implement that into their regiment in preparation for events. That's coming up this weekend. The Barebow Bulletin is going to be absolute fire this month. I got field archery coming from John Demmer. I got a Barebow Asia update. I got a huge announcement, which you may come across before the bulletin comes out, but it's going to be super detailed in regards to something that's happening in Sweden. I can't give out details yet. All I'm going to say is you're going to pay attention to the push archery and the Barebow Bulletin here shortly before we get to the end of the month. I got Maggie Brensinger joining the Barebow Bulletin Writers Guild, for lack of a better term. She's going to be a contributor this month. I'm going to be doing the coaching column this month as well. And I'm just excited about it. I think the newsletter is going amazing. It's free, and I'm excited for what it's going to look like as it molds, because there's just a lot of really good content outside of news and updates and stuff. I don't want the Barebow Bulletin to be just tournament updates. And I guess the Barebow Project started as like a promotional thing for Barebow, but there's just so much more to it. And honestly, Barebow's grown a lot, and it's reached that point where it's growing on its own at this point. And I want to focus more on those finite details, the things that don't get covered all the time, and that you can't. Sometimes reading it, the information sticks better than listening to it. The Barebow Project became famous for the live interviews and the ramblings and the back and forth, and that's all good stuff, and I'll get back to that. But there's the focus has just changed a little bit right now to provide more opportunities for people to learn and be educated and get help. That's really what I want to focus on moving forward. And with that being said, another thing I've mentioned in the past about writing a book. That's actually happening. I started working on. I probably got like 6 chapters in on just a Barebow book. But I realized that like this journey with the Barebow Project is a lot more, means a lot more to me than just talking about Barebow. And I'm not going to go into complete details, but the Barebow Project has taught me a lot about me. And just the confidence and maturity level of handling the Barebow Project, coaching and shooting and navigating social media and stuff like that. I realized that there's another topic or subject that I want to write about first, and it's going to include Barebow, but it's going to be more about adversity. And dealing with struggle and finding a thing you're passionate about, and then growing through that thing and navigating life's roller coaster of adversity that Barebow enabled me to sort of develop and mature through even as an adult. It's going to include, probably some tough topics for me to write about. It's going to include some mental health stuff. It's going to include, archery in general, and Barebow, but it's not going to be like an instructional book. So I'm excited to truly be a writer right now. I guess maybe this newsletter, writing the newsletter and doing all of that brought me to a place where I realized I enjoyed it more, and having the ability to put your thoughts into words to get into like details that sometimes you miss those things when you're talking about them. At least I do. That's definitely something I think I'm excited for. So my goal is to have, I'm going to save titles and stuff like that right now, but is to have that done by indoor season, earliest end of summer. I'm going to make that a focal point. I don't think it'll be super long, but I'm going to try to get that done. And what it's going to be, it's just going to be a lot of life lessons learned through archery, specifically Barebow, and what Barebow has taught me first. And then I'm going to finish the book, call it instructional, call it Barebow journey, whatever it is. I'm gonna finish that. Maybe I'll do them at the same time. I don't know. But the other book, it's maybe an autobiography. I don't know if I'd call it that. In some ways, it could be. But I'm excited for it. This writing stuff has got me. I'll tell you the thing that I've gotten into audiobooks. I struggle with podcasts now, believe it or not. I enjoy them, and The Push is probably occasionally the only ones that I'll listen to, depending on who's on. I don't like to watch a lot of YouTube videos anymore. I'd rather figure stuff out on my own in some regards. But there's the thing that I've learned with audiobooks is the detail is just incredible. And the thing that the audiobook that got me was Endure by Cameron Haynes. Now, a lot of you that listen to the Barebow Project might not know who Cameron Haynes is. He's a bow hunter. He's an endurance athlete, and his book, Endure, it's called. It's a new one. Is very good, and he gets into details of his life and how bow hunting has paralleled parts of his life, and how lessons learned in life have made his journey through archery as a bow hunter, I guess, more manageable, and his addiction to perfection with his endurance athlete endeavors and stuff like that. So if you're into audiobooks and you're not, some people aren't real big hunters, if you are into audiobooks and stuff like that, listen, consider downloading Audible, and I think you get some free credits, and listen to his audiobook Endure, because it is very, very good. So, and the other thing, update, the Barebow Project I've been doing all coach series once a month, and that's they've been my focus the last few months, and the reason you haven't gotten a lot of other episodes out of me is because of the Barebow Bulletin, and doing those coach series is really my primary focus. One of the reasons that's happening is because there's supporters of the Barebow Project, and to all of you that listen to this that are a part of our subscription through Team Barebow Project on the website. It's right there on the main page if anybody's interested. These people are dedicated to the information and getting this exclusive access to important topics and people and stuff like that, and I want to make sure they're taken care of as best I can. this school year has been crazy. I've been just so busy, and we're in the state testing time with my regular job. So, like, I need to focus on the people who are supporting it in that regard. So, please, all those of you that are not subscribers in that way with Team Barebow Project, it's not that it's just timing. I have to utilize the time for the right reasons as best I can. Work has been crazy. Fire department has been crazy. It's just family, and I think the one thing that I've learned over the years is like and don't take this the wrong way, but the more I give myself to the public through the Barebow Project, the less time that takes less time, or takes a lot of time away from home. I spent a lot of time traveling, doing seminars, going to tournaments, coaching, during a time when my kids were, that middle school, beginning of high school time frame, and that was a sacrifice that they had to make. So I'm walking that back a little bit. I'm going to continue to do the coach series every month. I'm going to continue to do online lessons, which I'm doing weekly at this point. I had a lesson with a young person named Elkie in Australia this morning. I had a lesson with Aaron, who took the pre-recorded online seminar. We had our 2 lessons. He's on Pacific time. He's really making some good strides. Elkie made a tremendous stride, and I think is a member of the national team, was or is going to be. I forgive me, Elkie, but is pursuing Barebow on a serious level, and I love the fact that I can connect with and do some online coaching with people in other countries. It is very fulfilling. It makes me miss coaching in person, but that takes so much time away from my own family. So I'm really focusing on home and family right now, because our son is going into his senior year. Our daughter is going into her sophomore year next year. I only have a few years left with them, and I want to make sure that they get 100% of my attention until they're adults. I think once that part calms down a little bit, like, you're just going to see less interviews. You're going to see less of the promotional type, tournament related interviews and topics, and it's going to be more Barebow Bulletin related, Team Barebow Project related, and stuff like that. And I just think that's just where I'm at. Don't hate me. I want to do less lives right now, but then if we do a live one, it makes it a little bit more maybe like wanted. If you do lives all the time, it gets a little redundant. So I want that to be a little bit more I'm not sure what the word is, but you figure it out. But these lessons, like, Aaron's been shooting Barebow for roughly 18 months, and, was self-taught, learned pretty much off of YouTube, maybe some locals that helped out, stuff like that. And we made some significant changes to his full draw position, and he was having a hard time finding alignment. Was shooting like really heavy weight, and that seems to be a common thing. Like, Barebow shooters shoot way too much weight. You don't, for 50 meters especially, like, some people think that by tuning, like, you have to shoot 45, 48 pounds to hit a 50-meter target and keep a low trajectory, and that's just not the case. You can shoot just as good, but your form changes a little bit when you reduce the weight. You gain a little bit more control, a little bit more confidence, and you have the ability to just adjust your tune. And when I say tune, that's like an all-encompassing word for arrows, for plunger, for bow, tiller, brace height, and stuff like that. For me personally, optimum weight on the fingers is around 38 to 40 pounds. I try to keep my crawl as close as possible from outdoor to indoor. So what does that mean? Well, for me, that means a heavier, longer arrow for indoor, a shorter, lighter arrow for outdoor. And the crawl is usually like 1 to 2 yoke lines, and indoor is like maximum half of a yoke tab. And that's the reason being is I don't love form changes. Once I get it, I want to keep it, and I want to keep it as similar as possible from one discipline to the other. You know, and I can still reach the further targets in field, just have to aim differently, whether I'm aiming approximately with the shelf or the spring, or the wire on my rest or whatever at those longer targets in field. But there's ways to manage that, and that's, I think, some people just want to shoot that high poundage because they feel like it makes their release cleaner. It makes your release cleaner probably because your form, you're just masking a deficiency in your form. By doing that, you're giving up some control. You're opening. You're making the gap to target panic a little bit bigger, or I should say, the gap smaller to it setting in when you don't want it. You're making the volume of arrows that you have to shoot to stay strong. You're increasing that number as well. I see it a lot in new shooters where they're shooting too much weight early on, and you can hit 50 meters with 32 pounds, 30 pounds. I think Maggie was able to hit 50 meters with 28 pounds, if I remember correctly. It's doable. You might have to adjust your anchor a little bit. I personally will never advocate to shoot under the chin, but some people make it work decently enough. For me, it's somewhere around the bottom of my eye tooth on my lower jaw for 50 meters in field. And even for indoor, I'll try to use that anchor, or I'll move up if I need to get a little bit more point on. I will move my anchor to the upper eye tooth somewhere, either the top of the gum or bottom of the eye tooth, whatever you choose. Everybody has their own ways to do that, and you can play with them all. But yeah, it seems to be a common thing that I see in new shooters, and you can adjust those things I just mentioned. You can adjust to that lower poundage, 36, 38, 40, to still get your point on and keep a tune. You just have to play with what arrow spine, point weight, arrow length, and all that stuff. Another common thing that seems to be happening more and more, or that I see often, I should say, is shooters are looking at the point of the arrow the entire time they're aiming. Again, I say this all the time. If you make it work and it's working for you, then run it. But as a coach and as a shooter, all disciplines, Olympic, compound, or barebow, if the target isn't clear, how can you truly have a definitive aim? I don't know. I don't know if that's doable. I think you're leaving points on the table if the target is blurry for you at all, ever. So focus on making changes to clear up that vision. Shooting with both eyes open, if you're able to, and your vision is good, do it. If you wear glasses and you have to close, or you wear glasses, say you're nearsighted or whatever. Like for me, I'm nearsighted and I have astigmatism. Plus, I'm in my late 40s. So I can't believe I just said that. And you are having trouble clearing up the arrow like I do. When I shot with glasses, I put tape over the outside left edge of my glasses. then it doesn't obstruct my vision when I'm walking and just generally, functioning in the tournament. But at full draw in that head position, it blanks out that left eye, which then clears up the arrow and the target for me. I've since transitioned away from that. I realized that, blinking at full draw keeps you relaxed, keeps your eyes hydrated, and kind of is like it's a relaxing tool when you're at full draw. I know Oliver Alkenholt, he blinks at full draw, and it actually has worked into, like, while he's blinking, he's settling. And I think others do that as well, that they don't, like, it doesn't enable them to move on with the rest of the shot because it's relaxing them at full draw while the aim is happening. And I've transitioned to I don't like wearing glasses. Like, I don't mind shooting. I'm sorry. I like shooting with glasses because it's easy for me, but wearing glasses, being sweaty, they're falling down your face. Like, by blinking, it allows me to clear up that arrow just long enough that I can finish the aim, stay into the shot, and then it goes when it goes. I'm excited to get back shooting here, and I started playing with that this indoor, and I'm excited to get back shooting after I have a pinched nerve in my neck from a structure fire like 4 or 5 weeks ago. It's been an absolute bear to deal with. First time I've ever had something like that. It's miserable. Not that you guys want to hear about that, but it's definitely hindered my ability to get back on the shooting line. Hope to shoot, get out 50 meters here as soon as this weather breaks here in Pennsylvania. It's been rain nonstop the last 4 weeks, so which was timely considering the physical therapy. But I'm excited to put that into play at 50 meters and try to get out, shoot some local 50 meters and stuff. I'm not going to do nationals. Probably going to do NFAA field nationals here in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, here shortly this summer. As soon as I'm off of work for the summer, I plan to hit it hard and shoot as many days as I can leading up to that tournament. So hopefully you guys consider making that trip. I'm going to shoot other local 50 meter stuff and probably some compound 3D with my family this summer as well, just to get ready for hunting season. So with that being said, I guess the only other thing that I want to mention is that if you're, I seem to be getting or doing more and more online coaching, a lot of form reviews, and trying to help people really refine and understand their own shot process. As I've gotten older and more experienced in this game, I think I realize that, like, there's no one way to be successful in archery in general, but specifically barebow. As we all know, I'm not a huge straight NTS fan. I think NTS is a great baseline, but if barebow is anything, it is proof that there's no one way to win. And if you can make what you're doing consistent and understand the things that you might be doing that are creating inconsistency, like negative tension in your shot, poor alignment, body positioning that's keeping you from getting to good alignment, like, if you can understand those things, that's when you can recognize those things, that's when you don't really need a coach anymore. There's a lot of coaches out there that they create this, what's the stigma that, like, you need to have a coach. My goal with anyone I ever coach is for you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Like, hey, let's get through this and spend, months, maybe years, let's refine all of these things and educate a shooter so that they can handle it. Like, you need to be able to handle it. It's always good to have a second set of eyes in some capacity, but I didn't set out to do online coaching in any way, shape, or form. Like, that wasn't the goal, but it's happening more and more, especially in the last like 4 to 6 months, and that's happened organically. But I realized, like, there's definitely a benefit to it. Like, if you don't have access to, and there's not a ton of Barebow coaches out there. Let's be real. There's just not. There's some that moonlight as Barebow coaches that never really. Their claim to fame is posting online, making videos, but they're not like, they have one way. That's the way they do it, and that's the way they teach you. And I just don't think that's. I think that's when you make those big changes and try to take on a whole different concept. Maybe for some people it works, but I think in the long term, I think that you need to find what's best for you as a shooter, and have someone that's open to, like, hey, well, if this isn't working, let's try this, or someone that can recognize, like, this is definitely a negative attribute to what you're doing. We need to replace that with something positive. And that applies to the mental game just the same. If you have negative tendencies on the mental side of the sport, you need to replace that negative tendency with a positive one. It's the only way to get rid of anything negative in your life. You don't just stop it. You have to replace it with something positive, whether it's a positive change to your form, whether it's a positive change to your mental game. You have to have the internal drive to want to make that change. And not Elton Wong wrote a great article for one of the bulletins, I think it was the first one, about, like, not being afraid of change. And you have to be honest with yourself, which is something that Demmer has told me and many others repeatedly. Be honest with yourself where you're at. Like, I am a shell of the shooter I was in, like, 19, 20, 21, just because of time. And I didn't have the drive to keep up with the competition stuff, because I was driven to do the Barebow project and coaching at that time. And things change in your life. Like, you have to adjust with the time, and sacrifices have to be made. For me, it was my shooting, and it is what it is. I would have to be super, super selfish, and my family would have to really make some sacrifices for me to be that shooter again. And I want people to realize that, like you have to be unbeatable, and everyone has to support you if you want to be that top shooter, if you want to be that national champion. There's sacrifices made, whether it's kids, family, job, programs, nonprofits, whatever things that you do. Like, you have to be all in. To be a champion, you have to be all in. To be successful at a thing, and like undisputably successful, you have to be all in. And sometimes I think that's an aspect that people miss, because they try to take shortcuts or find the fast track, and there's nothing fast about being great in Barebow. Even the best shooters out there, have their ups and downs. I think you reach a threshold at some point as a good shooter that it takes you less time to get back to where you were. But during those, like, first few years, developmentally, you really have to put in the time and the work. And I think that comes into the quality versus quantity conversation. I think high-end, long-term veteran shooters can focus on quality versus quantity in some regards and still be okay. But to be a champion, a repeatable champion, I personally think that quality and quantity both matter, especially quantity for double 72 arrow rounds for the double FIDAs for like Lancaster. Like we shoot a lot of arrows at the Lancaster Archery Classic because you have qualifications, you have practice, and you have shoot offs, and you make that cut. You're shooting another 60 arrows roughly, typically, unless you're out early. But you show up and you show up the practice range, and you shoot a high volume there. And let's face it, one of the best parts about the Classic, not to get too off topic here, but is the practice range. So like there's so many things. There's so many like these topics that I'm talking about. Like you could spend an entire probably an entire series of shows on that whole aspect. But with that being said, listen, I wanted to give you guys an update. Make sure you go to www.thebarebow.com. It'll prompt you to subscribe to the newsletter. It's free. And I am posting like previous articles on the website. So like you'll get those notifications as well. And consider joining the Team Barebow Project. You get these coach series that are exclusives with myself, and I have guests that come on and speak with our team members, and they're made available to you. So even if you can't attend, you can still attend that. We'll call it seminar for lack of a better word. That coach series episode. So there's that's just where my focus is right now, because the more time I have to spend recording, these live podcasts and all that stuff, it's going to take away from other things. So that's where my time is focused. And I want to focus on the book, maybe books. I haven't figured out how I'm going to I'm going to incorporate those other chapters that I started writing on the coaching side, about, the Barebow journey, or if I'm going to write two separate ones. I honestly had 3/4 of the other one done, and here I am switching gears, but this one means a little bit more to me because I think it's something that it might be therapeutic for me. I don't know. It probably is. And that's maybe why it's the motivation has increased, because I really struggled writing the other one. I didn't realize how dedicated. So you have to be. Larry Wise, once told me, he was like, the discipline to write a book is definitely a new endeavor for me. But this newsletter has made me realize I do think I do enjoy it. I'm not great at it, but there's only one place to go, and that's up. So listen, everybody, thank you all once again for your continued support. Good luck on your outdoor barebow journeys, those of you who are transitioning to outdoor and field and 3D. Shout out to Matt Zernzak. He's been killing it with podcasts, as always. It's no surprise. Make sure you tune into those episodes where Matt's highlighting some barebow. Make sure you watch some of this news that's going to come out of Sweden. It's going to be big. Go support your local clubs, and reach out if you need anything. You guys mean the world to me. I'm definitely changed a little bit as an individual over these last few years, and I am grateful every day for the support that you all have given the Barebow community, the Barebow Project, me and John and all of the repeat guests that we've had. Take care of those people that have continue taking care, I should say, of those people that continue to support our sport, with the hopes that someday we're on an equal playing field with Olympic recurve and compound. Do we have to start calling it Olympic compound? I'm not sure. But anyways, listen, that's it. I'm signing off. shoot straight or shoot often or both. And peace out. Barebow Project out.